Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, thank you all. I'm Mayor Donna Colson, and we're going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of September 16th to order. Number one, can we have a pledge of allegiance? And what I would like is anyone in the audience who is under the age of 10, I would like you to stand up, and I would like all of you to please, if you can get up, there you go, to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, okay?
You start, we'll follow.
Ready? Dads can help. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well done. All right, may we please have a roll call, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Lee,
Here.
Councilmember Papajohn,
Here.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stevenson,
Here.
Mayor Coulson.
I'm here. Do we have no requests for remote participation with AB 2449? We have Mr. City Attorney. Do we have any report out from closed session?
We had a closed session, but no reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you very much. All right, the next item on our list is upcoming events. I have a few, and colleagues, if you have anything, please, you can add on. And I'm going to ask, Margaret, did you send me any, Director Glomston? Nothing. Okay, good. So I'm not going to look. All right, the first thing that we have that is going to coalesce with an item coming up in our next section is our United Against Hate Community Cookbook, Connecting the Community Through Food. Food is not just fuel. Food is about family. Food is about community. Food is about identity. And we nourish all those things when we eat well. Michelle Pullen. This is about helping create a community cookbook. The Burlingame Public Library is compiling a community cookbook to share the diverse recipes, cultures, and traditions of our community. Through food, you can gain a better understanding of a culture and the people that make it up. We'd like to share the recipes. We'd like you to share the recipes that are important to you, your family, and your culture. If you'd like to submit a recipe, please fill out a form. In addition to the recipe, we'll have the opportunity to share a story or an anecdote as to why this dish is important to you and your family. You can go online to the, Brad, would it be under the library or the United Against Hate Week? Okay, so look on the library website and you can submit your, you can go ahead and submit your recipe. We're going to talk a little bit about United Against Hate, so I'm going to leave the rest of that off. Other things coming up tomorrow, we have a senior showcase that will be in the community center. So there will be a number of vendors and people there sharing different activities and things that our seniors may be interested in and can get involved. Please join us from 10 to 2 tomorrow in the community center. We also have a candidate forum that will be coming up on September 25th, Wednesday night. I believe it's here, Madam City Clerk, in City Hall, and it will be run by the League of Women Voters. It will start at 6 p.m. and go to, I think, 7:30 p.m., 7:38, and you can submit all of your questions for the candidates before that to the city clerk, or the city clerk will catch those up, and we can move on from there. All right, the other thing we have is the Bayfront Cleanup event is on September 21st from 9 to noon. Folks will gather at the Embassy Suites, and you start in the parking lot. And if anyone's ever joined us, it's just you bring your family. We have bags. You can walk along the Bayfront. You would be actually sort of surprised as to what we pick up and how much we gather. But it's a really fun day, fun for kids. So please join us if that is something you're interested in. And I think I just had somebody else. we also, I'm going to have a moment for members of the public. And at that point, I have a couple members of the public who have some things they'd like to come up to mention, mainly the pet parade. So we'll leave that right now. Any other colleagues have anything else that they want to bring up? Other events? Okay, who do we have? Yes, Peter. Family camp out? Nope, please.
So this Friday, September 20th, at Burlingame, Washington Park is the annual family campout. I don't know if there's any registration that they have to do ahead of time, but go to the website, make sure you're documented and in terms of being able to participate, but it's a lot of fun. It's exhausting for the parents, but a blast for the kids. But that's this Friday. I think the start time, Margaret, 4 o'clock.
It is very fun.
Yeah.
I have done it.
And then in our last meeting, I mentioned that the California High-Speed Rail Authority is doing a project update on September 18th here at the Burlingame Community Center from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you're at all interested in learning about where that project is, their plans, particularly on the north end of the overall project, perhaps that's a great session to attend and have your questions answered.
All right. And then there is one additional, which is Caltrain is going to be celebrating their electrification. And that will be on Sunday, September 22nd. We will be having a little gathering at the train station at the end of the avenue. Everyone is welcome to join. We have cookies. We have a fun photo opportunity. There will be beautiful lithographs that the Historical Society is providing to the first 50 people. We have beautiful swag bags with all kinds of lovely things from the Peninsula Clean Energy, and that's the group that's providing the energy for the new clean energy for the electrified trains. And all train ridership on this weekend will be free. So you can get your kids, come out to the train, take a little ride, see the new cars, see the electrification, and enjoy us. There will be another very big celebration starting from 2 to 6 in San Mateo. So you can start in Burlingame, take the train to San Mateo, a few more fun things, take the train back, and really start teaching your kids the value of public transit. All right. Yes, Councilmember Lee.
Yes, so on October 1st from 10 to 1, there's a session called Loneliness to Light, addressing loneliness in the county. It's hosted by the San Mateo County and Cafe. You do need to register. We do have good representation from Burlingame going. A lot of the Senior Advisory Committee is going. And then on October 5th, we have the Burlingame Neighborhood Network Emergency Drill. So this is where you get your neighborhood together and learn how you're going to respond in an emergency. And if your neighborhood isn't already planning it, any one of you can contact BNN and be the person who is in charge.
Yes, Councilman Brownrigg.
Appreciate Councilmember Lee mentioning BNN. I actually just want to underline this opportunity. A lot of times when we interview for commissions, people say, I just want to give back. And, as we've all been parents, or many of us been parents, and then, it's hard to find time to give back. But BNN is a small way to give back. It's a chance to connect with your community. It's really designed so that if there was a major disaster, a seismic event or something of that nature, we can't expect CCFD to be right in front of our doorstep. So how do our neighbors help us? How do we know where elderly residents are who might need some help if the electricity goes out? So it's an hour and a half from 9 to 10:30. And it's just part of all of us looking out for one another. So I just want to underscore the value of volunteering. And really, it's a fairly light lift if you're inclined to learn how you can help your block and your neighborhood become a little more resilient. So thank you for that.
Think you very much. At this point, I'll close and ask if there are any members of the public who would like have any events. I think I saw one. Ms. Vanderpolly, did you want to talk about the pet parade?
Hi, everyone. This is a fun event that's going to happen on 28th, Saturday the 28th, September 28th, Saturday at 10 a.m. And participants are invited to come half hour early in the parking to the parking lot. And there you can dress your pet. You know, there are many prizes. We will select a wild pet, best dressed pet, and a pet that does tricks. So, you know, it's a lot of fun for the family, right? And we also, there is also competition for the schools. So,
Thank you.
you know, we would love all the schools to participate. And also for all the organizations, this is a great time to like Burlingame Lions Club, Rotary Club, everybody to march. And we will listen to the beautiful band, the BHS band will be playing to the march. So we would love all the community to come and enjoy on Broadway. Thank you. We'll see you all on September 28th at 9:30. The event starts at 10 a.m.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. Are there any other members of the public who have events? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment on upcoming events. And we will move on to presentations. Our only presentation tonight is our Burlingame's United Against Hate proclamation. I have it in front of me here. Is there someone who's going to receive this? Brad. Thank you, our librarian, Brad McCulley. So tonight, we have a proclamation recognizing September 21 through September 27th as United Against Hate Week. This began in 2019 when we were experiencing xenophobia and also anti-Semitism in our city. And we joined other cities in the region to celebrate this wonderful idea. So I'm just going to read it, sort of skip through here, but whereas United Against Hate Week, which was started by the mayor of Berkeley in 2017 as a call for 7 days of local civic action by people in every Bay Area community to stop the hate and the implicit bias that are a threat to the safety and civility of our neighborhoods, towns, and cities. Whereas the Constitution of the United States confers equality on all individuals, regardless of race, gender, orientation, religion, or political beliefs, and the City of Burlingame City Council stands against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, bullying, anti-inclusion, and discrimination in all forms and wherever it may be. And the City of Burlingame reaffirms the city's commitment to be a welcoming, inclusive, tolerant, and safe community where hate has no place and where our strength is in our diversity. And over the past years, the city has participated in United Against Hate. Such activities included presentations, development of flyers, engagement of the school community, potluck, candlelight, and now we have our cookbook. This year's planned activities, which include anti-bias story time, kindness jar activity for teens, the community cookbook, and a Zoom author event for International Day of Peace and United Against Hate. The City of Burlingame joins other communities across the state in recognizing United Against Hate Week as an important step to bridging divisions as well as strengthening our community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it to any of my colleagues who want to add anything to our proclamation. Yes, Councilwoman Papajohn, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coulson. Yeah, I was just thinking how much diversity is something that really enriches our lives rather than divides us. And I was kind of reflecting on it, and I looked up some information that Maya Angelou had said. And, you know, she highlighted how standing up for others ultimately benefits everyone. And standing up for others really creates a safer environment for all of us. When people know others will intervene against wrongdoings, it creates a general atmosphere of security and accountability. So I stand for, and hope you will as well, to foster a culture of respect and understanding. And on a lighter note, I did submit a recipe for some vasilopita bread, which is a holiday Greek bread that there's a coin, you put a coin in it. So whoever gets that coin is really lucky. So please submit your recipes and you can find that one as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilwoman Lee.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mayor Colson for getting this started and the United Against Hate group. I think it's a really wonderful thing we're doing in our community right now. As a lot of you know, anti-Semitism in particular has of other issues that have come up that I'm happy that we're trying to address. I think it's great to be teaching the community that we need to speak up when we witness or receive hate speech. It's easier and safer to be silent, but that allows it to perpetuate. It does take courage to speak up, but we all have that within us. So I just do want to, again, reiterate my thanks to the mayor and the group for adding this to our culture.
Fantastic. Anyone else? You guys good? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Every time we have this, and I remember last year when we issued the proclamation again, it just reminds me how important community is. And community is kind of one of these things which is hard to define, but you know it when you see it working. And I had a good friend suffer a heart attack on Saturday in the middle of a tennis match, and he was gone. But everybody stopped what they were doing. They sprung to action to be part of that first response, and he's going to be released from the hospital tomorrow. So, it just reminds you of how important life is and how strangely inconsequential in the grand scheme of things all of this hate leads up to. It's something that just tears us apart, makes us scared to get involved. And I hope that the lesson that I learned and was reinforced over the weekend is something that we could all remember, because we're, as everybody on the dais have said already, we're better together than we are apart. So.
Yeah. And Councilman Brownrigg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to echo Councilmember Lee's thanks to you for kicking this off, and to our librarian for being taking the baton and really running with it every year. Our librarian, all of our public space, I think, feels very opening. We make it clear. We welcome everybody, and we are pleased and proud to do so. I'm proud of our city for creating a memorial to Anson Burlingame, who stood for the rights of everybody and respect for everybody, no matter what your background might be. And I do think, as several of my colleagues have said, that the most vibrant communities are the ones that have open arms, not closed arms. And our community is thriving. And I think that's a big part of why. And it's sort of intangible and yet so important. So thank you.
I really appreciate colleagues. It's interesting just looking out in the audience tonight. There's a lot of diversity in our audience, age, race, gender. And I'm so proud when I look out there. I wish our camera could flip around and show everybody who's here tonight. I think that's the way Burlingame is going, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So Brad, thank you so much for all you do. Can we just hand this off to Mr. McCauley? We don't need pictures or anything. You know where to photograph us. Okay. Thank you, Madam City Clerk, for doing that. Yes,
Thank you,
Brad,
Mayor and Council.
go ahead and make a
Sorry.
comment.
We're proud to accept this on the city's behalf because it is the city's proclamation, not just the library's. We do try to create that air of United Against Hate all year long. So if you look at our programs, our story times, our everything, a lot of it is related to culture, DEI type subjects. And so we do try to keep it year long. And like Councilman Brownrigg said, we're inclusive, not exclusive. So we live that life. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. We're going to go, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? All right, no public comment. We will go ahead and close public comment on that. And we will move over to public comment of non-agenda items. I think many of you may be here for this section. Just a reminder, the city of Burlingame has an agenda. When we hear public comment tonight, if it is not on the agenda, we cannot respond to comply with the Brown Act. But that doesn't mean that it's not something we can't take up or ask for a future agenda item at the end of the meeting. But I just don't want people to be surprised if the council doesn't provide a direct response to your exact comment. I see there are a number of, I feel like there's a number of groups. I know that Mr. Ferrari is here to speak and has a few things, but you have a little bit longer group. Would you mind if we're going to clear through a couple of the shorter items first? And so I'm going to go ahead and bring up, if you're with Mr. Ferrari tonight to speak on his behalf, I would ask you to just let me know. But I have Preeti Venkaki. Okay, do you want to, is yours with regard to Mr. Ferrari's item? Okay, great. I'm going to move you over there. And I also have, it looks like Hillary Lasky. And are you also with Mr. Ferrari? You're something different. Oh, you're on 10B. Okay, I will put that card aside. Thank you for letting me know. And I also have Diane Haggerty. Yes, please, Ms. Haggerty, would you like to come up and join us?
I'm Diane Haggerty, and several of you received the letters that I meant to also go to Ms. Norwood. Terry Nagel asked me to contact her, but I wanted you to all know what it is we're working on in my neighborhood. It's 1835 Hillside Circle. Yeah. And for years now, the property had been purchased and nothing has really happened. It's a vacant, abandoned house, and it's a massively huge house. I think you see some of the photographs. The people along, there are about 15 neighbors at least. I know many of them. I've been speaking to them recently. Mostly they are elderly. And when you go on that circle right across the street from that house, you're going to see women picking, up the little trash or sweeping their gardens, and everything looks beautiful, as we all try to do with our own property. I know I do too. And I just want to support all them tonight. And I want you to know that we haven't forgotten it. Now, I haven't been here before on this regard because I live, well, the property is on Hillside Circle, but it also borders Easton Drive. So it's a real drop off and the house is way up there. So I live, on the other side of Easton, and my house does the same thing. So I'm kind of up high at it. Well, the owners recently in the last few months cut down all of their trees, huge trees that covered everything as far as I was concerned from the back. Now it's all I see from my deck. It's all I see from every window in the back of the house, bedroom, kitchen, office. And sometimes they will have a light on. I'll be watching TV and there'll be a laser light coming through that hits me right in the eye. I don't know what that's about. None of us know anything what is about this property. And I'd just like some help for these dear neighbors and myself. We're all friends and acquaintances. And, everyone does the best on their own property. And then we're sitting here in the middle of this. And all of their taxes are commensurate with living on a lovely block 2 blocks away. And the taxes should be lowered for those people. And I just want you to look into it. I know before some of these neighbors told me that they said there was no code to provide help. But I'm asking that you look into what you can do for us.
Thank you, Ms. Haggerty, for bringing this to our attention. I will be handing this to the city attorney. Is that okay, Scott? Can I give you this copy of this letter? And you can work with Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate that. All right. Our next item, we have, it looks like, how many people would like to speak on behalf of Mr. Ferrari? So what do we have? Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and ask Mr. Ferrari to come up first. He will have 3 minutes to introduce himself, make his comments. And then what I would say to everyone is if your comments are similar or the same and you don't have to use the full 3 minutes, the council would and the staff who will have a very late night tonight would be very grateful for your sort of support and direction for us, since especially we cannot respond. But we appreciate you all coming out and learning about the civic engagement process. So, Mr. Ferrari, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, Mayor Colson. Thank you very much. Thank you, council members. My name is Vinny Ferrari. I live on the corner of Hillside and Bernal, and I currently run a youth basketball program out of my backyard. I have taken the necessary steps to make it more official as it has grown more popular by getting a Burlingame business license and requesting for a home occupation permit, as well as setting up an LLC. I'm here tonight to request a provision regarding the 3-person limit on the home occupation permit. This ordinance makes it difficult for anyone running a business, such as somebody teaching basketball or tutoring or teaching chess or teaching swimming, to comply due to the high cost of living in the Bay Area and specifically Burlingame. Additionally, having more participants allows the children to learn from each other, as well as creates a camaraderie and community amongst the children and the parents as well that drop their kids off at my clinics. In a sport like basketball, it's played in 5-on-5, so it is absolutely necessary to have enough kids in order to fill the positions so they can learn the game and the skills and the concept of the game the correct way. I also want to clarify that all my clinics are drop off and pick up only. So there is no issue with parking or traffic disruption. All parents understand that they must pick up and drop off their students accordingly. Thank you all for having me. I would appreciate if you can consider this at a future agenda and consider changing the ordinance from 3 to about 10 or 12 students. I've included to the clerk some receipts from emails exchanged with the Parks and Rec division of a collab that we did on a camp. I had about 10 to 12 students in that. So I feel as if that would be a great number to have and a great number of kids to be able to teach the game of basketball too. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferrari. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call up. I have first Michael Chow. And you have a partner, it looks like, and he is very welcome to join you.
Thank you so much, council members. This is Adrian. I wanted to introduce him. He was very excited to come with me tonight. He sees how our government works on TV, and that's always not the best lesson. So
thank you.
it's really terrific. Wanted to speak on in support of Coach Vinny. I wanted to say just how much having the basketball program has really helped Adrian really not only learn the game of basketball, but really collaborate with other kids his age. It's been a really huge blessing. Maybe not everybody lives next to us, but I wanted you to know that around the area, there are not a lot of areas where you can actually play basketball for little kids. Every hoop is 10 feet tall. You can imagine Adrian has a hard time getting it up to 10 feet at a time. We live on a house that is very, like many houses in Burlingame, very sloped. So there's not really an opportunity for us to actually have a basketball rim at our home. And I would say the last thing I wanted to set context on is I've dropped off and I've picked up several times, always very orderly. There's a school about 1 block away. This is Hillside Avenue, right? It's like really highly trafficked. It's not a very narrow street or anything like that. So it was very curious to me for me to hear that there were complaints about it because I've dropped off and picked up several times. So I just wanted you guys to consider that. And definitely I was really taken by Mr. Stevenson's comments about community. I would say that Coach Vinny's clinic has really actually made us feel much more part of the community here. I'm a proud resident of 10 years here at Burlingame. So thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chow. All right, we next have, do I have Mohit Julapali?
Hi, everybody. Michael, you stole my line. I was going to say, Councilmember Stevenson, you mentioned that great line about community. It is, you know it when you see it. And I would say you can see a bunch of us right here, including kids, all here to support Vinny. His clinic is fantastic. My son has been doing it for 2 years. My daughter started about a year ago as well. My pitch to the parents of my daughter was, it's less about basketball and just more about parents getting together, dropping our kids off, and the kids have such a good time. They bond. They get to play together, you know, in a way that obviously they play at school, but you know, some of my closest friends now as parents are this group of people. And so similar to Michael, I hope you support Vinny's increasing the number. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christopher Lau.
Hi, I've brought my son as well. He's officially listed, but we can share time.
Great. You can share time with him.
Yeah. My name is Chris Lau. I have a 9-year-old daughter, a 7-year-old son, and then a 3-year-old son. I'm a proud member of the Burlingame community. I'd like to share my personal perspective on why I would love Vinny's class to be able to continue in some way. First of all, Vinny's not just another extracurricular for the kids. He is part of the community. His home is there, and it brings the families together. One story I'd like to share that kind of shows that is when Mars and his friends played in a different basketball league, Vinny came to watch their game, support them, learn what they're doing so he can teach them more at his own class. I don't see any other teachers at extracurriculars taking their time to go do that. So that's this part of community that Vinny brings to our families. And secondly, my daughter couldn't be here, but I actually feel very special about that. As a girl, not too many girls play basketball, period, Burlingame and elsewhere. She's very intimidated to play basketball. Whenever she does, the boys are always much better. But because Vinny is part of the community and he knows her and she knows him, she feels really comfortable to play there. She loves it. He's actually the only reason why she's continued to play. And now she's excited to play for the first time with other girls at the 4th grade Lincoln Lions basketball team. She wouldn't be there if it weren't for Vinny. And she's even asked some of her friends to join. So she's sort of leading part of girls joining this team now. So I credit that to Vinny. I'm really grateful for him. And I don't know how the permitting, the laws work, of course, and that's kind of your domain, Council. I just wanted to share my perspective on how it's such a great benefit to our community that Vinny does what he does. Mars, would you like to share your words?
Okay. Hi, my name is Mars Lau. I like Vinny's because I like to play basketball and he taught me a lot. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Lau.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you. All right, I have Prili. I want to make sure I say Thinkari? Takarsi. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. I won't take up much time because my friends here in the community have said a lot of what I was going to say, but I agree with everything that they have had to say, especially building a community. Most of my friends, like Mo said, that I have in Burlingame are because of this clinic that Coach Vinny runs. So we've become really tight-knit. My son absolutely loves every week going to play with Coach Vinny. His skills have developed because of Coach Vinny. If I told him that, you know, it's rained out, he's really bummed, he's really upset, he wants to play through rain, he'll play through anything to be able to go hang out with Coach Vinny. And so I really hope that you guys consider letting this program continue. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have, I think, Russell Exteveros. Russell, come on up. I see age 7 is listed here.
This is my son, Russell.
Hi, Russell.
My name is Russell Wicksterwicks, and I learned basketball with Vinny. He is really nice, and I have learned a lot. We are not loud. I get to see friends. Please let Vinny stay open. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public? Yes, very good job. Are there any other members of the public who would like to comment, particularly on, in conjunction with this? Okay, come on up. You don't have to always give a card, so you can just pop on up.
Thank you very much. My name is Chris. This is my son, JJ. My friend Chris here kind of took the story that I wanted to relay, so I'm glad he brought it up, which is, this whole basketball clinic has sort of fostered our participation in other, more organized leagues. And it was just so remarkable that Vinny and his other coaches showed up to one of JJ's and his friend's basketball game. So I really think that does kind of speak to the community aspect of it. This is, Vinny clearly cares about the children. And I know we would love to see it continue because it's meant so much to JJ. You want to say anything? Vinny?
Thank you, Coach Vinny.
Cool.
All right, very well done. Okay. All right, oh yes, please, come on up. And Madam City Clerk, are there any emails that we need to read?
Yeah, not on this though.
Okay, different topic, okay.
Sorry, I'll keep it
Yes.
brief because I think we've covered everything, but I'll just add that Vinny's an amazing coach. We've got a lot of different programs that we've been involved in with soccer and basketball and baseball. And I can tell you that of all the coaches we've had, Vinny really cares. It's more about building a culture of winning and work versus just learning basketball. And it's just an honor to have him in our neighborhood. And we really enjoy this program. So I hope you consider expanding it.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, does anyone else have anything to say on Mr. Ferrari's? Yes, please, Ms. Vandervally, come on up.
Thank you so much. I'm just so impressed to see how community come together, to support Vinny. And I'm first time listening to the little children, their passion, their interest. All the kids these days want to play computer games and want to be in their closed rooms. What a great way to bring families together, kids together for a common good. I mean, I would love if there's any way the council can support, if there's anything we can do. I mean, there is, R1, we have zoning rules and all that, but I would really appreciate it if there's a way we can figure out for we need to continuous classes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other members of the public who have other items they want to discuss or bring up? If not, I'm going to just turn it over to Madam City Clerk, who sounds like she has a few that she needs to read.
This first one comes from Jennifer. She says, the history and beauty of the eucalyptus trees is important to the Burlingame community. Before removal of what remains, careful consideration and testing should be done. It should be a priority to get replacement trees of the Francard Grove approved ASAP. We should not be forced to look and listen to the trains to protect the wires Caltrain ran through the city. There's been a massive change visually and audibly since the devastating maintenance to Grove along the tracks has been done. Also, more public information before removal on any large tree should be given because the surprise removal causes a lot of public confusion when trees are removed without notice. And our second email comes from Srihari. He states, my name is Srihari. I own a small restaurant on Burlingame Ave. If my neighbor business agree to put the outdoor tables in front of their business, can you please allow that? The staff says, ask the city council because the rules are made by them. And that's it.
Thank you very much. All right. If there are no more public comments, I will close public comment. And anyone who wants to stay, we will not be offended if you don't want to stay for the additional probably hour or so long business meeting that we have to have. But I think on behalf of the whole council, I do want to thank the young families for showing up tonight and for the children for coming up and speaking. It's never easy to come for the first time and speak to the council. It can be a little intimidating, and you all did a really nice job. So thank you. All right. So if anyone wants to get up and leave now would be the time. Thank you all.
But of course, you're welcome to stay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
That's what they all say.
That is so cute. All right, we're going to move on to item number 9, which is approval of our consent calendar. Colleagues, are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent calendar? Yes, Councilman Brownrigg.
Yes, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, but I would like to pull items 9D and E.
D and E. Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
Those are the two that I wanted.
Okay, fantastic. Are there any members of the public who would like any items pulled? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to adopt the remaining items on consent, please? Yes,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Lee.
I move to adopt the items on consent calendar, items A, B, C, F, G, H, and I.
Thank you. And do I have a second yet? Oh, I think I had one from Andrea. Is that all right? Sure. Thank you. Vice Mayor. So thank you very much, Councilwoman Papajohn. I appreciate it. So may we have a roll call vote, please, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Papajohn.
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Coulson.
Yes. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull item D, which is an adoption of a resolution approving a professional services agreement with a contractor for the North Rollins Road Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvement Project. Councilman Brownrigg or Vice Mayor Stevenson? You want to start, Councilman Brown?
Go ahead.
I'm happy to start.
Mhm.
And really, I'm going to say almost the same thing about both of these items, which is, and I say this partly because as well functioning, I think, as our council is, and certainly as highly competent as our staff is, we do try to get better. And we've learned with complicated traffic studies that we don't always do the best job in messaging. So I'd like to understand before we approve $400,000 in fees to help design the North Rollins Road bicycle and pedestrian improvements. I'd love to hear from staff how the professional team is going to engage our public. And I want to, I'd like to, I can ask when you get to the podium, but I want to make sure that we have.
Can we have Syed come up?
Yeah.
Thank you, Director Murtuza.
Director Murtuza, especially a sense that the consultants understand the fabric of our community. I think sometimes I've had a sense, I'll just say it about myself, that a little bit of drive-by consulting, like, well, this is like every other consultant,
And I especially think this is relevant, and then I'll turn it to the Vice Mayor, because there are not really any people living in that neighborhood. So there are not constituents there that can provide feedback. And so it could easily escape the public purview. Yes, Vice Mayor. Did you have something on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to, when you look at the overall budget, this seemed to be a pretty significant one for just the design phase. And it goes into your question about whether or not there's actually going to be the input necessary to come up with the right feedback, just, given its locality. So that's basically my question. How does this fit into the overall expected budget?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Rollins Road, North Rollins Road Bicycle Pedestrian Plan actually came out of the North Rollins Road specific plan. And also there was a lot of public engagement during the development of that plan, and a significant emphasis was made by the Community Advisory Task Force relative to the bicycle lanes on Rollins Road. But currently we have a Class 2 lane, and on one side, and the other side is essentially the Sherrill. So and then as we are building a lot of housing towards the North Rollins Road, the idea was to make Rollins Road more pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly. We have large trucks parked throughout the area. Side distances are very dismal, if any. And then there is also a change in the community in that area from industrial to residential. And as part of that effort, some guidelines have been established as part of the North specific plan, and as well as the city's bike ped master plan. And As a result, staff applied for a grant, federal grant, and we received $3.1 million. That means to change the complete landscape of Rollins Road to more bicycle pedestrian friendly, streetscape improvements, pedestrian crossings, and what have you. As part of this effort, as you see, one of the biggest effort, why it's costing so much is because the project involves a lot of public outreach. The public outreach is not just limited to the businesses at the front Rollins Road frontage, but citywide, including, and there will be many community workshops, Traffic Safety Commission, and as you note in my last paragraph of the staff report, staff will proceed to 35% plans and preliminary cost. And based on the public outreach process, then that would involve City Council, Traffic Safety Commission, and other public workshops, staff will then proceed to the next level. We will not proceed until we have feedback and we have direction, and that is based on thorough public input. So I hope I answered that question.
If I may, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I appreciate that. And of course, I support the goals of the Rollins Road specific plan because we do have a vision for creating a community, and a community is not typically one that has an almost 6-lane road running through the middle of it. So I support the goals. This is really for me about process. It's the same as I feel now about the California bike lane, which is right goal, right outcome, bad process. And so I would like to make sure when the time comes that we are putting up sandwich boards or something for those business people, because they will feel put out. They won't be able to drive as fast. They're just gonna, we all know what's gonna happen. So I just want to make sure that they can't say, I didn't know it was coming and now I'm angry.
I totally agree. I think lessons learned from California Drive project.
Right.
Staff is actually, since that project, have been doing a lot of significant amount of outreach
Right.
with even smaller projects that involve parking removal or changes to parking. Staff is reaching out to people on one-on-one basis to receive not just a survey, but rather a direct engagement with individual property owners as well as businesses to capture their input. So again, all of that will be part of your deliberations at a future date after receiving all the input. And if we don't have adequate input, we will not proceed with the next steps unless we are 100% sure what that input looks, what the trade-offs are, and where the council stands.
Thank you for that assurance, Mr. Matusa.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a
Yes, please.
Um,
Councilwoman Lee.
Director Murtuza. When I was on Parks and Rec, and maybe Margaret will be the one to answer this, but I remember looking at it as design for bike lanes on Rollins Road. Is this, I'm just trying to understand what the difference is with this project.
So you may be referring to the city's bike ped master plan.
To the Recreate Burlingame, I think, right?
Okay, I don't remember, but I remember it was
Okay.
North Rollins.
So North Rollins Road has concepts, and this project will go through those concepts, actually supplement detailed traffic studies that would involve, see what the lane configurations will be, where whether there will be queuing if we were to go with one of those options, or if there are additional options are needed, including analysis of parking, which are a lot more thorough and detailed, and compared to the initial planning level concepts that were produced at the time of bike ped master plan, as well as the North Rollins Road bike specific plan.
Okay, so that was very preliminary, what I.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, if no one else has any questions, further questions, I'm going to go ahead and open this up for the public. Does any member of the public have anything they would like to provide or comment on this? Anything? Nothing, Madam City Clerk? Okay, nothing in the audience. All right. Oh, yes.
I definitely, this is Nirmala Vanderpali, I definitely support the plan, but the communication process is really important. How we communicate with the public, with the businesses. I would love to see our staff does such an amazing job already, but really connect with each business and get their buy-in, either yes or no, but so that we have that information, that we have done our due diligence, not only with all the businesses, but even residents also, that we say we always do it the Burlingame way, which is have all the organizations. We have many local organizations, like all the clubs, get their buy-in, get their input. I think when we do it together as community, either good or bad, we will all accept it because it's something that we have skin in the game. And I think I really appreciate that. Syed, the team does a wonderful job already, but I would love to see more communication about this. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. If there's no other further public comment, I'm going to go ahead and, is there any other public comment? No, okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the question, please.
Yes, I would be happy to. First of all, thank you for the assurances. One small ask, when the consultants send out whatever invitations they send out, can they please copy council as a matter of course, so that we're always aware of the meetings and outreach that they're doing? And that helps us then explain to the public there were lots of chances, right? But anyway, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution approving the contract for professional services to develop the North Rollins Road Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements Project.
All right, do we have a second? Yes, I also have a motion by Councilman Brownrigg and a second by Vice Mayor Peterson. May I have a roll call vote, please, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Papajohn,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Coulson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item E, which is an adoption of a resolution approving a professional services agreement for traffic engineering, planning, and public outreach services for the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan project. Councilman Brownrigg, please.
I'm going to defer to the Vice Mayor if you'd like to take this one first.
I know that some of these are, I wasn't quite sure how these overlap, is kind of where my question was. And what's budgeted for 9D that just got approved versus what we're trying to do here from a safety standpoint. That makes sense?
Sure. If I may, to the mayor. Again, the project that we just discussed is a separate project, which is North Rollins Road Bicycle Pedestrian Plan. The details are in the staff report. The next item that we have before you, item 9E, is looking at a citywide vision, looking at a citywide roadway safety plan, including establishing Vision Zero goal. Vision Zero goal is one of the strategic initiative that in the transportation sector designed to enhance roadway safety, aimed at eliminating all traffic-related fatalities and severe injuries while promoting safety. So this effort is a separate effort. We received $480,000 federal grant and look at each and every city street and establish what needs to be done based on the incidents, collisions, history, and all that, and establish a priority and solutions for each of those locations, and then establish goals for safety over the course of 5-10 years. And this is a standard requirement now for seeking federal funds. And so this will go a long way. As part of this project, staff will identify roadway improvements that could be pertaining to bicycle safety, pedestrian safety, and other elements, and involve community at large. This project will involve, similar to general plan update, a lot of community outreach, involve every stakeholder, businesses, schools, different departments, police department, public works, and every member, seniors, so there will be a lot of outreach and participation. Again, safety does not come from just a design from an engineer. It comes from everyone that uses the street. So all of that is part of that. And there will be a continued effort going forward. And I have a consultant if you have any further questions.
Yes, Councilman Brownrigg, or yes, Vice Mayor, please.
And I just want to, so in my thinking, and I could be wrong, but it seemed like the bicycle pedestrian safety is consumed somewhat in this Vision Zero for overall general safety, particularly in North Rollins Road. So how do those two efforts get closer?
Dovetail.
So that, just in terms of whatever design or principles that come up by one consulting group aren't in conflict with the Vision Zero, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I think when you look at cities' bike ped master plan and projects that have been conceived since then, already includes many elements of Vision Zero goal already. Staff is already doing that as part of our ongoing effort to improve safety by marking crosswalks with high visibility crosswalk, by placing signage, by placing rapid flashing beacons to improve pedestrian visibility, all of that, and improving sidewalks for that matter. So the staff is already doing that. This is a step, a master plan. What we don't currently have is a goal for 5-10 years. Where is our number overall in terms of safety, collisions, and what have you, and where do we want to be 5 years, 10 years down the road? So this is going to be a guidebook for staff to use and implement the tools provided by this guidebook in projects. And so as this project is, these two projects right now are concurrently going side by side. At some point, there will be a transfer of information between these two project systems and coordinate it. And so again, 2026 is a construction schedule for the North Rollins Road bike pedestrian plan. So by that time, we will have a lot of advice from this plan, from the roadway safety plan, to be incorporated as part of the North Rollins Road plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the Vice Mayor. So I had read the report and I think it's really exciting. So I'm not calling it off because I have problems. I'm actually calling it off because I wanted people to be able to hear. We have safe streets. This will help us have safer streets. And I think it's the kind of thing that's good to announce and try to give a little more airtime to. It gives community members a chance and a process to identify street corners or crossings that they have problems with. So I really just wanted to give it more airtime. And frankly, I almost think, Madam Mayor, that we could have this as an information item at some point on a council agenda in the future, precisely to allow residents to understand this process. And we're going to, between the feds and our own, we're going to spend $600,000 figuring out how to make our city safer. And you should pay attention, you should pay attention, and it's an opportunity. So that's really why I wanted to call it off.
Well,
And thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think it's a very good thing you did that, because we plan on, it's hard for us to get people to attend public meetings in the evening. And what we are trying to do is go to places where the public is already there, such as farmers market. They're in the community center for signing up on class, or going to women's club, and other places where we can be part of the discussion. And we'll be doing that. And then also we have a joint council and traffic safety commission subcommittee. We'll be working with them. Councilmember Stevenson is part of that. And we will work, and also Councilmember Papajan is there as part of the committee. And we will work on that to get their input to steer the work as we go forward.
I appreciate that, Mr. Martusa. The last request I would make is, hopefully this elicits a lot of different suggestions and ideas, at which point then comes the hard work of prioritizing. And I hope we put as much time into a process where the priorities are set not only by our staff, but also by some representative group, whether it's traffic and safety or something that provides for community input on the priorities once we have the universe, if you will. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any comments or offers? Anything they want to say? Okay. Well, obviously the public safety, pedestrian, bike is of paramount importance to us. And I am really happy that we're moving forward with this. I might even suggest there become a little corner in our community corner or somewhere in our e-news where, or if we have a special website or web page for it, that we share it out to the community and do almost like a little announcement that this is coming and what's going on, so that people can understand where to look on the website and bookmark the link. that would be really, really helpful. And I want to just thank our staff for embracing this and taking it on. It's extra work, but it's the backbone of the work that we're going to then build on as we go. And, I just have to say one thing. I'm sure my colleagues, some people, we've been walking and knocking and talking to people around the city, and it's interesting because people used to really, really be upset about housing. And I think like somehow the new thing everyone's upset about and they don't really understand is bike and pedestrian safety. So I think just like we did with housing, where we had to lead and reach out and get the community involved and share why these values are important to all of us and get everyone on board, we may have to do some sort of, bike Burlingame, bike walk Burlingame kind of community gathering where we sort of explore why, tangentially, these are all really important priorities for us as a city so that we, the sort of no bike lanes in my backyard ever people. I don't know I was like, I don't know what those are called. I know I'm a bimby, a bike in my backyard. So, that's all I can say. But, that we get everybody sort of on the same side. And just like housing, then, it becomes easier to do and everybody's behind it and everybody understands it. So this may be something of that raises to that occasion.
I agree. Thank
All right. Are there any members of the public who have any comments to make on this?
Thank you, Mayor Colson. You're right on point. I knocked almost 1,500 doors or so. Everybody's talking about is safety. Safety is on everyone's mind. Safety for kids, safety for seniors, safety, So, but it's important. Bike lanes are important. But at the same time, it's last mile transportation is also very important. I learned about Vision Zero, and I'm fully very supportive of that, of that vision. And I heard that the San Francisco have implemented the Vision Zero with a focus on, creating safe streets, educating the public, and increasing enforcement traffic laws. So these efforts have shown some success in reducing traffic-related fatalities and injuries. And I think for Burlingame, it would be beneficial to look at these nearby cities, what they've adopted, Vision Zero principles, and assess whether similar strategies could be effective, engaging with local authorities or community organizations, what, Michael Brondrick already mentioned that, definitely could provide more insight into any specific initiatives or plans related to Vision Zero in Burlingame. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And I'm gung-ho in, helping the citizens to understand the need for, let's walk together, buy local, live local, let's walk to Broadway instead of driving just a mile to buy things. So thank you for doing all this wonderful work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Can I please have a motion to approve item 9E? Yes. We're gonna have a little fight. I'll make the motion to approve item 9E. I'm just take that right out of your hands, gentlemen.
I'll second it.
And I have Councilwoman Papa John, who's made a great second. Thank you very much. Can we get a roll call vote, please, Madam Mayor? Madam City Clerk.
Promotion.
You get
Woof. A lot going on.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Papajohn,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Colson.
Yes, this is what happens when you sit in my seat for a very long time, Madam City Clerk. Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to public hearings. Our first item is an introduction of an ordinance adding Chapter 13.56 Electric Micromobility Devices to Title 13 of the Burlingame Municipal Code, CEQA determination exempt pursuant to state CEQA guidelines. The staff report, please. Is that Mr. Spansale?
That'll be me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council members. This is the reintroduction of the ordinance that we've heard the last couple meetings.
Third time's the charm, maybe.
This came back to us because we got a lot of feedback from the city council that maybe even though we're looking at stopping micromobility devices in our city parks and recreation areas, that the Bay Trail might fit a different standard than that. So we wanted to exempt the Bay Trail from that general prohibition on electric micromobility devices. During that discussion, Councilmember Brownrigg brought up a great point, which is what do we call the Bay Trail? So I talked to staff in our Parks and Rec Department and staff in our Public Works Department to determine what exactly would be a good definition of that to make sure we're capturing the right things and not, excluding the wrong ones. So what we determined was that MTC does a great job of managing a Bay Trail map. And in that map, which is constantly evolving, they're taking their definition of the Bay Trail and publishing it to the community on how they can commute via the Bay Trail on their bikes. So what we've done is we've incorporated their definition by reference into our ordinance here, just with one line in the definition section saying that, yes, micromobility devices are prohibited in city parks and recreation areas. However, the Bay Trail as defined by MTC is not considered a recreation area. That is the only change that we made to the ordinance. Otherwise, it's identical to the one that was presented before you. So that is all I have for the staff report, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Spansale. So I'm going to go ahead and start with questions that anyone on the council has regarding the revised report. Anyone? Yes, Councilwoman Papajohn.
I do have a question. Thank you so much for looking into that definition and incorporating it in the draft. So I was just curious about, we received some feedback about the parks, and I was curious about the width of our paths in our parks. And I know we had a brief conversation today, but I just wanted to bring that out to the public. If you could just elaborate on, the average width of the paths in our parks.
Absolutely, and I'll ask our Parks and Rec director if he has anything to add here. But typically our parks, they can narrow down all the way to about 4 feet wide at their most narrow points to about 12 feet wide at their widest points, with an average, I think, of around 5 feet in those main Washington Park areas that we're kind of considering as we look forward to this. Speaking with our Public Works Department, typically when we're having these multimodal pathways nowadays, I believe we're building those at about 10 feet in length to accommodate for walkers and bicyclists and other modes of transportation. So ours right now are definitely on the small side, especially at their most narrow points. But I will turn it over. Oh, looks like she sat down. Oh, there she is. To Director Glomstad, in case she had anything to add to what I said there.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. You might stay close. Bye.
Thank you, Margaret.
All right. Additional questions?
No, so so what I heard is that on average, our paths are about 5 feet wide, but current standard is about 10 feet wide for multi-use, bike and pedestrian. So I just wanted to highlight that our
Thank you.
parks
That's a
have.
good point. We are on the small side.
Yep, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Coulson. We did get a lot of feedback from the public, specifically some of them saying that they thought speed is not, that we should regulate speed and not the device. And I wondered if Chief Matucci could comment on enforcement of speed versus enforcing the device, which is easier to do, what's more realistic.
Good evening. So for obvious reasons, enforcement, if you ban a device, it's easier to enforce an outright ban, because if an officer sees the device, they know it's illegal and they can enforce it. For other things like speed, that's a little more difficult. Some things like, helmets are easy to enforce, or riding double on a bike is easy to enforce. Speed can be difficult because usually when we enforce speed on vehicles, we use a radar gun or we pace, which pacing a bike in a park or on a Bay Trail is pretty much impossible. And it just would be interesting to see how even using a radar detector, or a gun on a trail or in a park would go, because then you got to catch the person as well when you do measure the speed. So it's definitely more difficult, for sure, more difficult to enforce speed than just an outright ban.
And another question, I remember talking to a police colleague some years ago, and he said that he basically could stop any car because there's so many any car he wanted to, because there's always something you can stop a car on if you have reason to. Like you don't stop every speeding car because you don't have enough staff to do that, but you choose. So how much discretion is there for a police officer? If somebody's seems to be operating safely, does the police officer choose to not necessarily stop that?
For a speeding vehicle?
Well, I'm thinking about if we pass this e-bike ordinance, there's some discretion on the officer's part to.
Right. So usually, when we're enforcing speed on a vehicle, we don't stop cars if they go 2, 3, 4, even 5 miles over the speed limit. It's usually more 10, 15 miles an hour. So we'd have to figure out, where we draw the line as far as bicycles and speed limits. Also, when we're out there working traffic, we can work at, traffic on Rollins Road or California Drive or Carolyn Avenue, and you're going to see dozens and dozens of cars if you sit there for a half hour. Whereas if you sit on a Bay Trail or in the park, you may sit there for an hour and not see any bikes or see one or two. So is that the best use of an officer's time, to sit him on a Bay Trail or in a park, to find two bikes that may come by in an hour and may not even be speeding? So.
Yeah, I guess my point or my question was, even if we have an ordinance that bans e-bikes, it doesn't seem likely that we'd park a police officer there stopping everyone unless there's some complaints or there's concerns about unsafe behavior.
If you ban e-bikes, enforcing the ban on e-bikes or
Yeah,
enforcing
enforcing
the
the ban on e-bikes.
Well, I think we ought to be clear. I'm not sure it's a ban. I think what it is the e-bikes are allowed in the parks, but they're to be walked.
Right.
banning the
Right.
riding, right?
Banning the riding of them, yeah.
Right.
I don't think we'd put officers in the park. Well, I'm not sure we would. We'd probably early on.
Margaret's
You got it.
in here.
I got.
So what we're experiencing in the parks are not commuters driving through the park, taking out dogs and kids. There's a certain population, they tend to be young, it tends to be after school, and they're just being kids. And that's where we're getting all the complaints that come into the community center or go to PD. It's unruly youth driving very unsafely throughout primarily Washington Park and sometimes Ray. So at least for us, we don't call the police unless there is a problem. And it's usually a targeted group, which they're very good at working on, but we're not looking at an adult who maybe rides their bike through at 7 a.m. because we're not there anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Director Gomstead.
All right, any more questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to members of the public. I think, oh no, that's not that. Any members of the public? We had a couple of emails. Madam City Clerk.
Our first email comes from Allie. She says, "Thank you for reconsidering the inclusion of the Bay Trail in the proposed electric micromobility ordinance. This is a step in the right direction, and I appreciate the council's continued open mind about the issue. Regarding section 13.56.003.a.II, I request that the council explain what this code intends to address that proper enforcement of existing regulation 13.52.180 must yield to pedestrians in public parks and playgrounds and obey all posted park rules, and speed limits would not. This regulation already applies to all e-bikes according to Exhibit A. Additionally, I'd like to know about the planned enforcement of 13.56.003.a.II if this ordinance is adopted. Does it make sense for officers to stop people in parks to inspect their bikes if they are not endangering anyone? There's no standardized look for electric versus non-electric bikes. It would make more sense for officers to stop anyone riding at excessive speed regardless of their micromobility device. Regulating the assistive technology instead of safe use is akin to banning biking downhill or with a tailwind. I will also note that there have been no reported incidents of bike ped accidents, but car bike or car ped crashes do happen and are frequently deadly for the human not in the car. Forcing people to ride on unsafe streets just because their bike has a battery gives the impression that the city is not truly welcoming of this mode of alternative transportation. Thank you again for continuing to improve the bike infrastructure around town. I look forward to a future with slower and more complete streets. Our next email comes from Mike Swire. He states, thank you for your actions to improve safety in Burlingame. Thank you to members Papajohn and Lee for raising concerns with the previous ordinance, and thank you to Mayor Colson for removing the Bay Trail in the new ordinance. Despite these improvements, I still do not believe that the revised ordinance is the best way for Burlingame to make its citizens more safe. One, while I understand that the city can multitask if improving safety is the goal, I would recommend that the city focus its precious council and PD time and resources on the carnage on Burlingame streets. At the previous meeting, the chief of police said that there's been 0 reports of e-bike crashes in parks. Meanwhile, last week in Burlingame, a driver killed an individual. This tragedy occurred on Peninsula where pedestrians frequently face deadly conditions. In the past dozen or so years, 12 people have died on Burlingame streets. 77 have been seriously injured and another 1,200 have been injured. Of these killed or seriously injured, 28% were people on foot and 24% were people on bikes. Many crashes go unreported, as do close calls. These are the people that most need council action. 2, the city already has laws in place to enforce safe riding in parks. Per BMC 13.52.180 in the packet, riders must yield to pedestrians in public parks and playgrounds and obey all posted park rules and speed limits. Nevertheless, when I walked through Washington Park yesterday, I saw no such signage or speed limits at entrances. Why implement a heavy-handed ban on e-bike use when we haven't first tried to enforce existing laws? Why not first try an education campaign as was successful for helmet use? 3, the proposed regulation punishes Burlingame residents who ride safely because of the actions of a few bad apples. When an SUV driver recently injured kids in Burlingame, we prosecuted the bad behavior instead of outlawing SUVs. Why the different treatment for people who bike? 4, if e-bikes are so dangerous, why are we exempting their use by public agency personnel? 5, banning e-bike use in the park will mean more kids instead riding on adjacent streets. Has the city studied whether these streets are safe? Around Washington Park, there are 0 bike lanes to protect kids on bikes. Instead, Carolyn provides free car storage for drivers. Why are there bike lanes on Carolyn west of Oak Grove, but none in front of Burlingame High School in Washington Park? Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with the city on improving safety in Burlingame, especially where it is most needed and for those who need it most. Our next email comes from Tyler. He says, thank you for taking public comment and the needs of many into consideration when omitting the Bay Trail from Burlingame's electronic micromobility device ordinance. Why was council so quick to push for a blanket ban without performing any sort of impact studies both to parks and the surrounding streets? For every anecdote involving e-bikes in parks, I am positive there is equally as many, if not more, where vehicles endanger the lives of both pedestrians and cyclists out on the street. I, for one, have nearly been hit by a driver right in front of Washington Park while riding my bike. There have been 0 reports of e-bike crashes in city parks. A low-effort ban of all e-bikes punishes all of the safe rides, the majority. In previous meetings, council expressed that BPD has seen success when educating and enforcing bicycle laws out on the street. There's no reason to think a similar campaign targeted at parks wouldn't yield similar success in educating and protecting the public through existing law. And the last email I have is from Zach. He says, I am a Burlingame resident living in District 5 near Washington Park. I support the safe use of e-bikes in public parks and recreation areas. I thank the mayor and council for pulling back the initial ordinance, which would have harmed many Bay Trail commuters. Bikes should absolutely be allowed on the Bay Trail and in public parks with appropriate speeds. I frequently take my 2 young children to Washington Park and understand the benefits of a speed limit, but I am against a full ban. The Spur Trail in Millbrae has signage for a 5-mile-per-hour speed limit, and I think that this is a much better policy. For comparison, we wouldn't ban cars on roads despite the many accidents that happen regularly. I appreciate some of the work Burlingame is doing to make the city safer, such as the California Drive bike lane that I take multiple times per week, as do many BHS students, and the proposed bike lanes near BIS. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Are there any other members of the public? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Colleagues, thoughts and consideration? Vice Mayor? Or Mike? Sure. I'll let you guys fight it out again. Go ahead, Michael. Why don't you please?
So, making public policy is often a matter of trade-offs. And it'd be nice if there was never a trade-off. It'd be nice if whatever you did good for this person, nobody else minded. If it were that easy, it'd all be done. And so this is a trade-off not between bikes and cars, which is what we're used to, but between bikes and pedestrians. And I think that's why we wrestled with it a little bit. And I wrestled with it. I am, as many know, an avid cyclist. I go as many places as I can on my bike. So I'm a big believer in making the city safer for cyclists. But at the same time, we also have to think about making the city safer for pedestrians. And just because there hasn't been an accident doesn't mean there haven't been a lot of near misses, often with parents with little kids. And yes, there are bad apples and there are safe cyclists. Unfortunately, when the downside risk is great enough, you have to legislate against the bad apples, even if it makes it more inconvenient for some of the good apples. Personally, having to walk your bike, which is not, we're not banning bikes. Burlingame is not banning any of these bikes. What we're saying is you can't ride them through public parks. If you can't walk from one end of Washington Park to the other, then you should think about what you're doing with your life, because it's not that far and you don't need to go faster. So I think this is a good compromise. I think exempting the Bay Trail was the right thing to do. I think we can have that conversation again when the bike lanes are made on Airport Boulevard, and then it might merit again. There's a lot of people who walk on the Bay Trail who will not appreciate having somebody drive by at 15 or 20 miles an hour on an e-bike. But I'm comfortable with this compromise. So I am ready to vote on this. I appreciate the work. I guess I'll make one other comment, which is I don't think, and I said this last time, that we've done all of the business that we thought about doing with respect to e-bikes, and in particular, the concern of unsafe operation of e-bikes on city streets, leading potentially to fatalities and really bad injuries. So, but I would also say that I think this process has shown some of the limitations of taking an ordinance directly to council that might have been better mitigated at first through Park and Rec or Teaspoon. And I would suggest the next time we talk about e-bikes, maybe it could get chewed over a little bit by the relevant commissions so that the public has a chance for more input
Right.
at the front end.
And just by way of comment on that, it was because of the literally almost hundreds of people, very upset and unhappy. And also really the driver of this was the near fatality, and the young man who lost his leg from Burlingame Intermediate School is what really moved it up to the forefront. Like an accident had already happened.
Right. So that was a city street accident, right?
Yes, it's a city street accident, but I think it sort of brought to the attention that there was a lot of very unsafe behavior.
It definitely did. I guess what I'm trying to communicate, and colleagues can disagree, but to those who wrote, I think we haven't finished our consideration.
Yes.
And with respect to bikes in parks, we don't permit people on a skateboard to use their skateboard in the park. I mean, so let's get real here. I mean, people driving on 15 or 20 miles an hour on an e-bike is a lot worse than a skateboard. So I guess I just, I appreciate the work that went into this, and that's how I.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much. Others? Vice Mayor Stevenson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I appreciate Councilmember Brownrigg's comments and thinking about this challenge. It's pretty clear from the chief's comments that monitoring speed on mobility is very difficult, if not impractical, in terms of really citing somebody and having that learning, experience or moment. I'm okay with separating out the Bay Trail, but I just rode the Bay Trail this weekend. end to end. There is no continuous pathway from a commuter standpoint. You either have to go along the Bay Trail, then cut out to Bayshore, and then cut back over to the Bay Trail. And most of that Bay Trail is not 10 feet. In most parts, certainly on the Airport Boulevard side, it's even more narrow than what you see in the park. So I don't necessarily, I'd love to see some traffic patterns of micromobility riders who use it for commuting. But even when I was on the Bay Trail on the south end where there are sharrows, the bike riders were using the sharrows. They weren't on the path. The 2 or 3 that I saw that day. So I think we need more information on these patterns. I'm happy with the ordinance and separating it out now. There are posted signs. The problem is really behavior. And that's kind of hard to adjudicate, you know, consistently and fairly. The parks, I don't understand why the parks are a commuter area. Really, they're always full of families and kids. The paths are not wide enough. It's not a big deal to walk your bike around or walk your e-bike around. And if you're commuting to school, stay on the perimeter. Stay, you know, there's options that are there. But from a commute standpoint, I just don't understand that. So I'm okay with the ordinance. I do agree with Councilmember Brownrigg that we really haven't tackled the problem of e-bike behavior on city roads and city streets where there is a lot of problems. And it's something that I would highly recommend we bring back up into council at the appropriate time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Lee.
Yes, prior to this ordinance being introduced and before I was on council, I was walking through Washington Park. I walk through Washington Park daily, and I was pretty alarmed at how fast young kids were going on bikes without helmets, riding 2 at a time. So I'm very grateful that Mayor Coulson and Councilmember Papajohn brought this up. And while I can understand the logic of speed should be regulated, we heard from Chief Matucci that that's not really practical. And if you've ever had a radar gun pointed at you, it's kind of unnerving too. If there's a bicyclist and this radar gun is being pointed at them to monitor that. We also can use public policy to educate. It's like the seatbelt rule. Having the rule in place helps educate people about bicycle safety. And while we haven't had a bad accident yet in the parks with e-bikes, we don't want to wait till one happens and then do something about it. I think it's important to do it now, and especially because there are so many young children and seniors walking around, again, Washington Park, all the parks really, but that's the one I'm most familiar with. It was intimidating to be walking there with bikes passing by. So I think that this ordinance gives police the ability to make some stops. And again, you know, discretion I'm sure will be used that, as Director Glomstead said, nobody's complaining about something that's happening at 7 a.m. at a low speed. It's the bad behavior that provokes a response. We can't afford to park a police officer there all day. So I think this will help improve safety, help educate the public, and I believe we should support it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Lee. Councilwoman Papajohn.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think this is an issue where we're not going to please everyone. And we did receive input from several cyclists that were very opposed to banning bicycle electric mobility devices in parks. I am in full support of active transportation. I don't think this would hopefully affect people commuting and riding electric mobility devices throughout the city. But I am concerned, as my colleagues have stated, that our parks are really smaller and they're just not designed for the speed of these micromobility devices. So just really, your comments have all resonated with me. And I do really still hope that people will continue to ride active, be active and get out of their cars. But I think that in the parks, it's something that we kind of need to limit. And I am also grateful that we have carved out the Bay Trail.
Great.
So thank you for your support on that.
Thank you very much. I too have ridden the Bay Trail, and that is a whole different problem and one that we are hopefully addressing with our work with One Shoreline, because that trail is crumbling into the sea. It's buckling in some places 10 inches. It's on some occasions as narrow as 2.5, 3 feet. So that is a different problem that we need to solve and that we will commit. I know as a council, we've really committed to solving to make sure that there is a efficient and safe route for bicyclists to traverse the Bayfront in Burlingame. And it may take a while, but we do have a plan. And I think all of us will be happy when that work is complete in the next, potentially decade, but it is on the plan. I also think education is really important. We're going to have to work with these. A 12-year-old child does not know the rules of the road. That's all there is to it. They don't understand. I mean, the behavior exhibited demonstrates to me that they do not understand the rules of the road. And I know none of us want to have to console a parent when something goes wrong. 5 miles per hour to ride your bike. Well, guess what? I walk 5 miles per hour. So walking your bike through the park at 5 miles per hour is exactly what we're proposing. So I think that's fine. And there is no point from point to point on our parks that are more than a 3-minute walk, really. So, and then just to bring it all home, the Vision Zero is what this is all about. So overlaying the Vision Zero, putting this all together, I think we will end up with in a good spot. I do appreciate all of the people who wrote in. Most of you saw I responded to almost every single person, many of whom did not live in Burlingame. Some were in Portola Valley, some were in Redwood City. And I do appreciate other people from other cities weighing in, but I also know that many, many of our own residents had a very specific opinion about this. So while I appreciate someone who lives, 15 miles away talking about this, I think that I do have to give a little bit of heavier weight to the actual people who are living, working, and experiencing the parks. So with that, I think we probably have a consensus. I would open it up if anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll move to, let's see, is this for a second reading that we need to?
Yeah, or yes, I guess it's
Motion would be to bring
bring it back for a second reading.
Move to bring back the ordinance for a second reading. 10A.
Thank you. We have a motion by Council Member Lee and a second by Vice Mayor Stevenson. May I have a roll call vote, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Papajohn,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Coulson.
Yes, thank you very much. And I just do want to make clear there was an email that went out that said that Burlingame was banning e-bikes, and it gave the impression that somehow the city was banning e-bikes. I thought that was incredibly irresponsible journalistic news writing and story sharing. And unfortunately, we want to build partnerships with advocates of pedestrians and biking and everything. That sort of irresponsible messaging to me does not help with collaboration. I've reached out to that organization to explain that we would appreciate, working with them more collaboratively. Just so you all know, I have not received any email or response back. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is 10B, a public hearing on the resolution approving and levying the downtown Burlingame Avenue Business Improvement District for fiscal year 24, 25. I think this is, yes, Director, you thought.
Okay, great. Good evening, Mayor and Council Member. Tonight, the public hearing is for Downtown Business Improvement District assessment. On August 19th, the council approved a resolution to declare intention to set a assessment for the DBIT for fiscal year 24-25. And then tonight is the hearing, the the assessment for the debate is to using promote the business and then increase publicity for downtown business. This afternoon, I checked with the city clerk. There are no protests for the assessment. We can, just for the record, we can check again now. So, it's
Okay,
at-
we have no protests,
Yeah.
no formal protests.
yeah, we sent out a 417 business, the noticing. We did not receive any of those.
Mhm.
With that, staff recommended to adopt a resolution and to levy the assessment.
All right. Does anyone have questions on this or comments? Maybe this would be, I can take both. So I'm just going to make a comment, which is that I thought the bid did a very good job of developing a more transparent and thorough analysis of their budget, and that they put it together in a way that was easy for members of the public to understand. I really want to make sure people understand that these are not public funds. We are simply the conduit by which the funds are collected and then distributed. So we're not giving tax dollars away here. And the bid controls, really to a degree, they would have to come to us if they wanted more money, and they could ask for a reevaluation of that. We would have a study, and then that could change, but it would be driven by their request and not ours. So just to call out the level of professional presentation this year, I thought was probably the best I'd ever seen in quite a while. And going to the meetings, they've been very, very collaborative and wanting to work with the city to make sure that everything looked top notch and that all dollars were accounted for and the budget was laid out appropriately. So just kind of giving a quick spur on that. Do any members of the public have comment on this? Yes. Oh, great. We have this is Hillary. Hi, Hillary Lasky, come on up. I really appreciate you coming to make a comment.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I am a business owner on Burlingame Avenue. I am not protesting by any means. I love supporting the community. I'm all for it. However, I want clear clarification of why I'm not allowed to have an A-frame or a sandwich board. My landlord tells me that it will be removed at my cost when I'm paying $325 to improve downtown Burlingame to support small businesses. And then I'm a part of the chamber, so I'm paying $360 also to be a part of the chamber. Susan's lovely and wonderful and helps me in any way that she can, but there's no clear understanding of what's going on. And then I'm paying for improving downtown businesses in Burlingame, and Hatch Lane is disgusting. And Recology my bill's $400, and I'm like, what's going on? Where's my money going to the city? Hatch Lane and rodents, and I'm in charge of all of these businesses, all the restaurants by me. I'm in a really great location. How do we come together as a community when I'm the only business owner here right now? I've spent $10,000 in rodent repair on my building alone.
Wow.
I've owned it for 2 years.
Which building is yours?
Onyx Salon, Burlingame Avenue, 1113.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, as I mentioned, the business improvement funds do not come to the city. They are not city funds. And you would have to go to the bid to check with them and find out how those funds are being spent.
Okay.
That's number one. Thank you so much. Secondly, Recology also, maybe Councilman Brownrigg can speak to that, but that's also a business contract. And I know Hatch Lane has had some issues. Do you have anything you want to make?
So first of all, this doesn't count against your 3 minutes, just.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm happy to talk offline about Recology. I serve as this city's representative to the South Bay Waste Management Agency, which oversees Recology and the contract. We are concerned about rodents. It's one reason why we insisted on cleaning up parklets so that we could, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So that was not the only reason, but it was one reason to ask everybody to rebuild. And now let's build with some standards that will not create havens for rodents. So it's something definitely that we care about. And more than that, I should probably, just for the sake of everyone else, take offline, and we can also talk to Public Works, which obviously is in charge of street hygiene.
And I also will say one thing that you get for free is San Mateo County Vector Control can come out. They're right on Rollins Road. They service the entire county. They handle all vector, mosquito, bug, any kind of infestations like that. And they can come out at, yeah, you gave her a vector control card. Amazing. See, look how this works.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So Vector Control, we have a representative from Burlingame. They're great. I've had them come to my house for things. They show up. It's free. They're usually very responsive. Within like 24 hours, they get to you. So if you do feel like there is some sort of rodent infestation, call them because they're free and they're really, really good. So one thing that we can provide to you for free. And then the second thing on the sandwich board, that would be, I think, a Public Works question, because everyone can generally get an encroachment permit for various things. So I'm not familiar with that. Syed saying no, you can't get one. Okay, so no sandwich board.
Block the sidewalks, and that's the concern.
Okay, so they block the sidewalks, and so some people may have them out there and they are not legal. So if you're concerned about your neighbor's sandwich board and the fact that they're sort of blocking the sidewalk, which is an ADA issue and something we can be sued over, please simply call, if you get on Access Burlingame, there's an app that you can put on your phone. There's a click it, ticket, fix it. You just click it, take a picture of it. It will send it right to City Hall, to the appropriate department, let them know, creates a ticket, lets you know exactly where we are in the process of remedying that situation, and then gives you a resolution. So you don't have to, it's just an easy, I'm like a frequent flyer on it. It's just an easy way to do it without having to worry, who do I call? What do I do? Just send it in and we'll deal with it for you and then get back to you.
Great.
So those are some suggestions to help a little bit. The chamber is also not affiliated with the city, so funding that goes to the chamber stays with the chamber. It's its own independent nonprofit, 501c. So that is separate, just like the bid is separate. You do pay us a small business licensing fee for sure, and that is used to kind of help deal with all the work that goes into running all the businesses. Is there anything else?
I just wanted to make sure I understood the comment about Hatch Lane. Is it predominantly because of the restaurants that are
Yeah.
opposite sides of your up?
Yeah.
And how clean they're keeping it, or how clean it's being picked up and all? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I feel like I interrupted you though.
Do you want to continue?
I'm great. Thank you for all that information. That's what I needed to hear. So thank you for your time.
Do you have any more on your public comment, or?
I just wanted to know the clarity of where everything's
Yeah. And
clear of everything.
Ms. Lasky, you and I have met, and I would be more than happy to have coffee or tea at any point in time to hear more about the challenges of operating your business. I was a small business owner myself for 10 years here, and I am very empathetic and sympathetic to the issues, and I'd be more than happy to meet.
Thank you.
You know how to reach me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was at your ribbon cutting.
You sure
so
were.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Papajohn, Councilwoman Lee on this? Okay. On this particular subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And thank you for coming and sitting through a very long meeting.
But weren't those kids cute?
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Anyone else? Megan, we're good? No other public comment? And anyone else? Okay. So can we get a motion to pass the resolution, adopt the resolution?
I will make a motion.
Thank you very much. Council Member Papajohns, make a motion. Do we have a second? I'll make a second. So we have a motion by Papajohn and a second by Coulson. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Papajohn.
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Coulson.
Yes. Thank you. All right, motion carries unanimously. We have staff reports and communications, nothing under that item. And we go to item 12, which is council committee and activities reports. Councilmember Papajohn, I think your report had an important piece of information, and I would ask you and Vice Mayor to share that out, please.
Great, thank you, Mayor Coulson. So I don't have the actual report right in front of me, but the announcement is that our CCFD has received a grant, a federal grant, in excess of $8 million, I think $8.1 million. And I just wanted to congratulate them. It is the SAFER grant, which is, help me out, staffing.
About fire staffing, was
Adequate.
going to enable them to bring on 12 new firefighters.
Wow.
And that will put an additional firefighter on the truck. So we have one truck within CCFD. It'll put a fourth firefighter on the truck, and then they'll be able to reopen Station 36 as a fire station, an active fire station, which will serve, especially when all the mess happens around Broadway grade separation, we'll have an active station on the other side of the tracks.
And I have a comment.
Yes, please.
So I mentioned earlier about my friend having a heart attack, and police and fire did an amazing job of getting there and helping on top of the first responders that were there. But the importance of having that station serve the other side of the tracks is important, because you never know when those trains are going through the stations. You have a rough idea if they stay on schedule, but when when the gates go down, the fire trucks can't cross. And so it brings that up as an important item. So very lucky that we have this FEMA grant and we can start making inroads on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I confess I missed that Councilmember Papajohn had written a report, so I'm very glad to hear it reported out like that. With respect to the staffing pattern on trucks, is that for all of the trucks or just one?
We only have one truck.
We-
Everything else is an engine,
Everything else is an end.
just the
So-
truck. The truck is the one that has the ladder and it goes on roofs and things like that. And National Fire Protection Agency recommends 4 crews, so you can have 2 go in, 2 stay out. And so we just have never had the ability to pay for that. But they can sort of do 2 lines of attack if they have the 2 and the.
No, I understand the logic. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I certainly agree that opening up, expanding the use of
36.
right is a big deal. So that's awesome.
Yep. Thank you very much for sharing that information out. And that's exactly the kind of committee report that is helpful to all of us. All right. Are there any members of the public that have a comment on item 12A? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. And future agenda items. We had some people come today with some suggestions. Anyone want to take that up? Which is basically the home business operating ordinance, which restricts home businesses to 3 people. So if you're tutoring or you're doing swimming lessons or you are doing basketball, in the case of Mr. Ferrari, you are very restricted. And a lot of this has to do with like cars and parking and things, but we heard a little bit from here. I don't want to make it a big, time consumer for our staff, but it seems like there was when I spoke to City Attorney Spansale, there's not a lot of background or understanding or reasoning why it was 3, other than possibly just the thing. And what was interesting to me was the Park and Rec Center partnered with him this summer, because we're so short of recreation space in this town, that they partnered with him and they sent our staff out and they did an overview and a look at checked out the court and the facility, checked out his training, and they actually certified him. And then he's doing lessons through actually the Park and Rec, I believe, as well, right? No?
We need to just not go into details on this. If
Sorry.
You want to do a future agenda item?
Sorry. He said it in public comments, so I was just reiterating.
I'm happy to endorse having the conversation. I am struck that there was a complaint. And so I do want to make sure that we notice and we have a chance to hear from everybody. I will say that as a neighbor once of somebody who had a batting cage in his backyard that he gave lessons to, there can, especially with athletics, there can be significant noise concerns. So I think it's a conversation to have.
Right. I think it is too. Okay, so we have 1, 2, anyone else? Yeah, 3? All right. Okay.
Just to clarify, Madam Mayor, would it be just for the compliance with standards and conditions portion of the home occupation?
I think that's it. Stan, please.
It's the compliance with standards and conditions, so the required standards for home occupation permits, because the home occupation ordinance is actually rather large.
So it's just that particular section with regard to the,
Does that cover business license and liability insurance and things like that?
The other portions do take care of that.
this is just number. I think the issue on this is just the number of,
This would be number and the location, storage of equipment, parking, things like that, that I believe are most relevant.
Also time of day. Because,
It could be, yes.
okay.
That can be certainly part of
Yeah.
the discussion.
In fact, that's a really important part of, anything that's noise related.
Absolutely. And then
Right.
just one last thing, since this is a zoning code change, would you prefer this conversation to begin at the Planning Commission?
it would be up to colleagues. Would you like it to go to the planning commission first?
I think that.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot to
I agree.
get down to.
I agree.
Question, really.
Yeah. So let's put it there. Let's put it there for initial review. And then it can be brought back to us. And that's a good spot for people to come and make public comment.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, because I think this, yeah, okay. That sounds good. All right, are there any other future agenda items? Yes,
Madam
please.
Mayor, I have 2 items, and I'm not sure either rise to council agenda levels, but one with respect to comments made today, I am struck that we have spent a lot of time thinking about the treescape on El Camino appropriately, and really have not thought about the treescape along the railroad tracks. And so I would love an information item, perhaps from our city arborist, that talks about both where our authority begins and ends, and also if Caltrain, if they're the ones doing the pruning, if they have a plan, and then we could make it more public. Because I've also been struck by the amount of pruning that's going on along the tracks. Does that make sense?
There's a second, we can agendize that. A lot of that work is our work, not Caltrain's work.
Oh, okay.
Well, that might be something again to kick down to either Beautification Commission or to the Park and Recreation Commission, just to take a look and maybe come back with, where would you?
Does it require a second to punt it to beautification? About the railroad tracks? Okay.
Okay, so we can go in, Director Glomstead, would you be so kind as to send the meeting notes to that, of that? Yes, that would be great.
Much. All right. Well, that checks that off. Secondarily, I have been struck recently, just as a resident, that I think with the turnover in residents, that there is less awareness today of the gardening zone restrictions than there used to be. This was a very hard-fought compromise about 8 or 10 years ago. But as people turn over and real estate agents don't tell them, and especially sort of ironically, I think our ban on gas leaf blowers, I think for some residents who weren't reading it very carefully, they thought that meant as long as I'm electric, I can do it any day of the week, which is not what the rules say. So I'm asking, and again, this may not rise to a council item, but is there some way that our city staff can remind our residents about the zones of
I think we got rid of that when we updated the ordinance and required electric, didn't we?
No,
I don't
think
so.
so. I think we kept the days. But that's very simple. Yeah, I think
We did?
I've asked actually Jeremy he's put that out a few times, I believe, and we can just put it back in the e-news.
I think as much, it creates a lot of angst for neighbors, and neighbors don't like ratting out other neighbors and all that. So just as much emphasis as we can on you're allowed to do it this day of the week.
And while we're at it, if we're introducing new residents to some of our rules, we could go over other issues, like we have this e-newsletter, we have, anything else that
Yeah.
good for people to know.
For those that are converting from from gas to electric, what is the cutoff we gave? Can you remind us? Is it 6 months?
I think it's past us.
It's
Say we-
past
Yeah, July 1st.
July 1st.
Okay, because there's still,
Yeah, we're working on.
Sending out notices of violation to people.
Yeah.
When we do send those notices out, can we remind people about the regional, you're only supposed to have gardeners this day in this area?
Certainly, we can put that in the news.
I think, and then the
Rachel's.
sort of last potential future agenda item would be, I met with several residents who were having concerns about the types of animals that are allowed. So are pigs allowed and chickens with roosters, and where do chicken coops have to go? So I've talked to Assistant City Attorney Spansell about this, and he's aware. It happened at one of my listening things, so we're putting that on to just, I think Michael Gina had said, he called me about it and he said, we'll put on, it's like nothing urgent, but it's just a thing on there because it kind of goes with a lot of turnover, new things. People don't know what they can and can't do. And there's old McDonald's zoo going on in some park. Some people, just a lot of different things that I think are not allowed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I think that's it. If there are no other comments or no public comment on this, then I'll go ahead and close this item. Do we have anyone that we need to close the meeting in memorial of or honor of? No acknowledgements? Okay, then the meeting is adjourned.